You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Falling Skies After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Falling Skies After Show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Falling Skies on AFTERBUZZ. I am not your host, Phil Zvitek. He is out today, so, and you know, kind of like we just.
You guys are like Cochise and Shaq. You guys both can't be in the same shot together.
Exactly. we have only one alien outfit between the two of us, so we have to alternate.
Okay.
So I was out last week. Now he's out. And yeah, who knows? Maybe I'm out next week. We don't know yet. But who's the one person who seems to always be here, because she's human, is Roya. Hi, Roya.
Hi.
She's only human. You're just human.
It's cool. I'll take it. I mean, Maggie's kind of, well, she used to be only human, but I'm going to relate that.
She used to be only human.
I'm trying to be a BA like her, okay?
Yeah. And also welcome back to one of our producers, Stephen Lemieux, who had a nice little vacay.
Hooray.
And he's back, and he's so happy to be here. So we're going to be previewing the, well, we're going to be recapping, not previewing. We're going to be recapping the episode called Till Death Do Us Part. And it is apparently the pre-ultimate episode of the season. Next week will be a 2-hour finale. So I'm guessing it'll be 2 episodes packed back to back. That's usually the way they do it in TNT, in TNT land.
Boom. That's TNT's.
Yeah, that's the way they usually do it. So every hour is usually a sustainable episode. So they're just going to air 2 episodes next week to finish off the season. But let's start talking about this episode. We leave off pretty much with the whole third mass still around that rubble from the alien attack, from the Ishveni attack 2 episodes ago, and the discovery of these panels that lit up. That was the big cliffhanger, I guess, from last week. One of the big cliffhangers from last week's show, that there are these panels that seem to light up and in relationship to the moon. So they discovered that these are kind of like solar panels, but for the moon. So they're lunar panels. So an ingenious invention, lunar panels.
And I love Cochise' reaction to when he finds out that what they've been looking for has been there the entire time.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure he cursed in
Volm
language, which
yeah.
I wish I could have a translation of
It
what
kinda,
he exactly said.
I can't remember what the word was because it sounded similar to, it sounded Italian or something, I think. It sounded similar to a word in Italian. I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty funny that this whole time when the Volm were doing recon in the area, looking for this power source, looking to figure out what's the Ishveni's plans, and this whole time it was over their heads, as he said. So very interesting. So they figured out that the energy source that the Volm are using actually is coming from the moon. Very similar to the situation with the electric fence when Tom and Hal and Pope and all them were trapped in that ghetto camp. That the dirigible was the power source for the fence. So it seems that the moon is a power source for just about all of the Ishveni bases, weapons, ships, beamers, everything that they have. Mechs, perhaps, too. Everything.
I was like, are they going to blow up the moon? Is Falling Skies really going to take it to the next level and blow up the moon?
Well, you know, funny you should say that, because pretty much Tom just says, you know, we're just going to have to go up to the moon. We're just going to have to go up there and take care of it, which sounds pretty darn ridiculous. And he even starts quoting, because it is Tom Mason, history professor. So he even starts quoting from JFK's famous speech about declaring that they will send a man to the moon by the end of the 60s. So he started doing that, which is actually a very, very, it's not as much of a well-known speech. I'm familiar with it, but I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with what was behind JFK's speech to send a man on the moon, he pretty much declared it. It was kind of like he didn't know that they could do it. He pretty much just declared that one day they would send a man to the moon. And he declared that they would do it by the end of the decade. And they did. But he pretty much declared from nothing that one day we'll send a man to the moon. And Tom Mason pretty much is doing the same thing. I mean, due to our own history, we haven't had a man land on the moon in years. And after, of course, the alien attack, it seems like the Earthlings in that world haven't really sent a man to the moon. But here we are. We're going to send a man to the moon. Yeah. We're going to send a whole group to the moon and go to this moon base and shut it down. Simple as that. So Anne, of course, thinks he's crazy.
Especially when Tom goes, I felt as though he was actually talking to me. JFK was talking to me when he said that. That could make him a little bit more crazy.
Yeah, it could make him a little more crazy, considering JFK passed away in the early 60s. Yeah. I don't know if Tom's that old.
Maybe he knew about the Svenny ahead of time.
Maybe he knew about the Svenny. Absolutely.
JFK.
So yeah. So anyway, they're trying to figure out a way to get up there, but actually he comes up with the brilliant idea of stealing a beamer or getting a beamer somehow. And Cochise says it's not a terrible idea. It's not as crazy as it sounds. They could actually get one. And it turns out, based on last week's episode, when we saw Tom buried with Dingan in that, they were pretty much in a beamer. There's a beamer buried underneath them, under all this rubble. So it seems like they have a plan in place. And then, of course, Cochise brings up that this happens to be a weapons cache, a Volm's weapon cache nearby that he never brought up before. Yeah. And Tom's even like, why, if it's so close, why are you telling us now? Why couldn't you tell us this like 3 episodes ago? 3 episodes ago when we were about to we had this overlord chasing my butt because I burned him, and he's really, really pissed off. So why didn't you tell me that? So apparently,
too dangerous.
It was too dangerous then, and now the Ishveni have backed off a little bit, so it seems to be safe. Which, of course, famous last words.
Right.
Minimal risk. Famous last words. So we know it's probably not going to be all that easy. But anyway, so Tom sends Dingan. He keeps Dingan over with Shaq to work on uncovering the beamer, and everyone else from Third Mass that isn't going to the Volm cache is helping out, including Maggie, the new superhuman spiked Maggie, harnessed Maggie, semi-harnessed Maggie, harnessed kind of to Ben.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that a little bit. We'll get into Maggie a little bit later. Let's continue, I would say, for the purpose of this. Actually, you know what I want to say too? The name of this, because I want to bring this up because it's going to definitely come to play with a lot of couplings, a lot of relationships in this episode. But the name of this episode is "Till Death Do Us Part," which is, of course, a line that people are very familiar with in weddings. And it seems like every couple in Falling Skies had a moment, like a major moment this episode. So even before we go on this trip, Anne is already freaking out with Tom, thinking Tom is crazy.
Yeah.
For thinking about, let's go to the moon. Let's just go, to the moon, Alice, as the honeymooners would say. But they had a really good scene before they even went to the Volm cache, where I really liked this, where Tom said to Anne, "You get to have faith, and I get to be the realist." And it doesn't mean that I don't have hope. I have hope, but faith is your department. So I thought it was a really, really interesting scene, and really well written on both sides for Anne's character, for Moon Bloodgood's character, and Noah Wiley's character for Anne and Tom. A really good talk about their relationship and the way they see things, more or less.
Yeah, it was kind of a way to get rid of the elephant in the room, because Lexi is a huge topic, and Anne wants to go after Lexi, but can't believe that Lexi's the way she is, and then Tom's like, no, gotta protect my people. So it's a good explanation of them knowing what each other really are.
Absolutely, we can't overlook. We don't get to see Lexi in this episode at all, but there still is that specter of Lexi hanging over them about if they did the right thing and should they go after Lexi or not. Especially after Ben came back and said Lexi is gone, she's turned and she's not coming back. So, of course, Anne wants to go and get Lexi. But Tom says no, because Tom doesn't want to put anyone else at risk. But then again, Tom wants to go to the moon, which kind of puts everybody at risk.
Tom wants to go to the moon, not everybody. Tom gets to the moon. I don't think he meant everybody is going to be on the ship. And,
well,
hey guys, field trip to the moon.
Tom's going to need a few people, I think, with him at least. I don't think Tom can just go to the moon on his own. He's going to need a small crew. And of course, Anne will volunteer to be in that crew. And it'll probably all the Masons will want to be on that crew.
Yeah.
All the main characters in Falling Skies will be on that crew, most likely.
But they got to bring someone else that's not a main character that will die.
A red shirt.
Yes,
they got to bring a red shirt.
exactly.
Yeah. And Pope probably won't go just because he'll be bitching and complaining, and he'll stay and
gets motion sickness,
whatever it is. He'll just stay or deal with Sarah. More on that later, of course. But again, really, really interesting scene. And of course, this is Anne. Anne's been a pretty rough and tumble soldier, so she's going to go to the Volm cache, even though it's minimal danger. So she's going to go along too. But she's ready to start packing her guns and just go along with Tom.
I thought that was interesting that she was able to go. You would think Tom would be like, no, let's stay here. One of us has to stay and keep charge.
Well, especially since Anne thinks the idea is crazy to begin with, but Anne wants to stick with Tom and make sure everything's okay. Don't forget, she thought she lost him last week. They couldn't find him for the longest time, so she thought he sacrificed himself. So I could see her wanting to stay by Tom for based on that reason.
That's fair.
Yeah. So anyway, for the purpose of the recap, we're going to follow along the main storyline, which is Tom and Cochise and Matt and Anne and Weaver all going to the Volm cache because we have a returning character who happens to show up. First of all, we noticed that there are some toxic levels associated with the Volm cache.
When Weaver started coughing, I thought it had to do with something when he touched the Lexi's.
I thought it did too. Weaver at times they seem to show, his age, his heart condition. They haven't really touched on his heart condition this season at all. But even the hand thing, I kind of thought was something. There was something there
until Anne started coughing. You're like, oh, okay, I guess there's something in the air.
Yeah,
Or they both just have the coughs, ironically. At the same time.
It's funny about Weaver's. Various conditions because it seems like inconsistent at times with I don't know what the writers are trying to create with Weaver, but sometimes I think it just reminds us that he's old and he may be expendable when you think about it in comparison. I mean, there's a good relationship he has with the Masons in general,
especially Matt.
But he's kind of expendable at times, and I think every time he coughs, every time he says "ow." Every time he slows down, there's always a little thought in my head that says, I don't think Weaver's going to last much longer, but he's lasted so far. He's lasted this long, so I don't think he's going to go anywhere.
Okay, let's hope.
Yeah, but anyway, so exactly. So Cochise mentions that there are some toxic levels, some patches of toxic levels around the area. And he just conveniently, kind of like packing a lunch, just has a bunch of masks in Matt's duffel bag that he takes out, and they all have these masks. And then, of course, they run into Mira, who, for those of you who don't remember, I'm sure we all do, she was over in the Nazi type camp, the New Patriots camp that Matt was sent to after the opening of this season, and she's coughing, she's all dirtied up, and she talks about escaping.
My first thought, though, when I saw her running down, like, Matt, is that you? I was like, don't go to her. It's a trap.
Yeah.
Don't do it. You heard me in the room, like, what the heck is going on?
And it's funny because I predicted a couple of weeks ago when Matt left her that she would probably end up turning. And I was like, no, it's this is a family drama, and it's Spielberg. I'm sure she's okay. I'm sure she really escaped. I forgot my prediction. I don't know if that invalidates my prediction from a few weeks ago, because technically I was right, but here I am watching this episode and I forgot about it until afterwards. But actually, she is giving a little sob story. She's saying all the right things. She's saying that she's escaped, that she did exactly what Ben told her. No, I'm sorry, Matt told her to do, which was to pretend until she found a way to get away. And Tom, Tom being very smart, and he decides not to trust her, whether it's because he doesn't believe her story, she's acting weird. He's a realist. So they're on this mission to get all this equipment that you're going to need for the beamer.
Did you notice Anne's face, though, when Miriam was saying the story? Like, oh, I got to get on everybody's side. Like, they teach you to get on people's sides.
Yeah.
Anne's like, I'm not buying what you're selling. I don't believe you. She even had that look in her eyes.
Well, Anne is incredibly distrustful. Don't forget that she considers Matt. I'm going to keep saying Ben, but I meant Matt. Apologies for that. She's going to keep saying Matt's her son for all intents and purposes. So she's being very protective over.
Protective as in this girl could be a traitor, or protective like, oh, she's got my son's heart.
I think traitor.
Okay.
But I also think heart, too. I also think,
Really, I didn't get that out of the scene. I just thought it was more traitor.
Well, you know what? I would say, it's more traitor, but later on in the episode when they're having that heart-to-heart with Matt, when Matt's having that heart-to-heart about the fact that he kind of likes her, with his, with Tom.
Dad,
yeah, so I kind of think there's a little bit of that there, too. But I think Anne thinks... we can't trust her. There's too much on the line right now, which makes a lot of sense. So of course, Tom ties her up, and you're all happy about that till Matt goes back.
Yeah,
and
they should have searched her. Why didn't they search her?
They should have searched her. They shouldn't have just trusted. She said she threw the whistle away. So why don't you just make sure? But even then, they mentioned that the whistle would call beamers. So I kind of figured that this whistle was going to be very, very important later on in the episode.
Oh, really? I just thought. She was a traitor. That was the whistle was a symbol of her trading, but
I just figured when she said the whistle, even though she said she threw it away, when they just mentioned the whole description of the whistle being able to call beamers over, I figured, okay.
That was a thick whistle to hide in your shoe.
That was a thick whistle
to hide in your shoe. And to be running in it, that's impressive.
I know, it was, absolutely. And
I kind of want to try that. See if I can put that in.
You want to stick a whistle in your shoe?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
That sounds
whatever turns you on. So, anyway, so what do you think about so what do you think about Matt coming back over to Mira, and Mira being all like, "Oh, these ropes hurt my wrists. They're cutting in."
I had to applaud her for being able to not convince, but do that, like, oh, help me.
Yeah.
Help me, man. I need you. Be a man. That kind of thing, playing on his feelings.
Yeah.
So good for her in that sense of being a strong woman for her age, girl for her age. But definitely, from my perspective, I knew she was manipulating him right away.
She was, but you know what? Matt was really slow going, because after he finally decided, okay, you know what, I'm just going to take these binds off.
Why couldn't he just loosen them? Why
he didn't loosen them? He took them completely off because he trusted her, and she's saying she's saying all the right things for him, and he really did care for her. But then one of the first things she does is she digs into her shoe, pulls out this whistle, and I didn't write down the line that she said, but she pretty much said, it was kind of like a supervillain moment, where it's like, I'm about to blow this whistle right now in front of you, and he's 2 feet away from her, and he lets her blow the whistle. He doesn't like grab it,
or
he doesn't smack it out of her hand, doesn't do a thing. He's just like, what? Yeah. And she starts blowing the whistle, and which I thought was a little like, Matt, what's going on with you? I get that you trust her, but she has the whistle that she said she threw out, and she says you're on the wrong. She said more or less, I'm paraphrasing, something like, you're on the wrong side. They were right.
Well, Nando, channel your 13-year-old side, 13-year-old boy, okay? Try and channel that. Now, there's a girl that you might have might have a little thing with.
Yes.
If she all of a sudden changes her gear and she's not doing what she promised pretty much to do for you, how would you react? Your mind is focused on maybe it's sex, maybe it's not, maybe it's kissing, maybe it's something, and then all of a sudden she's not doing that. Would you slap a whistle out of? Would you slap her?
I'm gonna change this question a little bit. Okay. So the 13-year-old boy or 13-year-old girl. I'm gonna turn it around to you.
Okay.
And you have a crush on some 13-year-old boy.
Right. I'm 13 years old.
You're 13 years old. You're both 13 years old. Everyone is 13 years old in this scenario. Yes. Okay. So anyway, and a similar situation, right? Except instead of pulling out a whistle, okay, the 13-year-old boy pulls out a gun and says, I'm about to shoot this gun at you.
I would not
Do you
slap
go?
it.
Do you go? What? And just
Yes.
let them do it?
Especially if they had the gun in their shoe, I would. Where would they be hiding this
Just
item?
pretend that they're sitting on the gun. I don't know. It just comes out of nowhere.
Yes, I would probably be hesitant at first, and then obviously they're too far to be able to stop them.
I get that you might not want to slap the gun out because it might go off anyway, but you would probably have a reaction that would not be like just standing there staring at the person while they shoot you.
I would. It would be betrayed because I was betrayed in thinking that
come
I
on,
had
you're
a
trying
chance
to be
with this
right.
boy.
You're just trying to be right here. Come on. You would not at least run away.
I would first be like, "What?" and then be but then
It would be it would be a very fast what? like he couldn't even finish a sentence. You'd be like, "What?" It wouldn't be like, "What?" That's what Matt did. This was my impersonation of what I think what was going through Matt's mind when she's pulling out the whistle from her shoe and holding it in front of him, saying, "They were right. You guys are wrong.
Maybe he thought he was
you guys
pulling something
need
else
to be." He's 13 years old, Roya.
So they don't use. Never mind.
He's 13 years old. They don't think that way.
Wait,
well,
don't they?
No, they think that way, but he wasn't thinking like, whatever. You know what? We're going into. You know what? This is actually a really good time to segue.
To buy a whistle somewhere
Yes, let's say
that you can hide in your shoe. Everybody.
you know what we over here do a lot of shopping, right? We are into a lot of stuff, and Walmart, who is actually one of our sponsors, they actually have a really good deal going on right now. They had a commercial during Falling Skies that I saw for it, so it's really popular. It's their savings catcher, and it's really, really simple, and it's really cool. I mean, a lot of times my experience of going to stores, you always want to try and find the best deal out there. Right?
Yeah.
And, sometimes you end up going to the right store and you get the cheapest price. And then if you go someplace else afterwards, you go, oh, wow, I actually saved money on this. But you never know for sure. So Walmart has actually made it really, really simple to save. You don't have to drive all over town anymore just to try and find the right place or look at all the ads or whatever. You can buy what you want to buy over at Walmart, which has really, really good prices for everything anyway. And if, let's say, you bought a whistle
Yeah.
at Walmart, since we're talking about whistles, to blow so that you can report your parents to the police or whatever, and or any Falling Skies merchandise.
Anyways, go ahead.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
No, wait, oh, my parents.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying because that's what the intention of the whistle is in Falling Skies. But anyway,
Okay.
let's just say whatever you buy at Walmart, you find out that there was actually a cheaper price someplace else across town, and you find out what you can actually do right now is there's an app for the savings catcher, and there's the website. You could actually go on the website and you can put the information that shows that this other store had a cheaper price, and what Walmart will do is they will give you a gift card for to make up the price difference. So you actually end up getting the lowest price no matter what. So it's really, really safe to just go to Walmart, get what you want to get. And again, if you feel that you find it someplace else for cheaper, you can tell Walmart, you can go on the app, you can go on the website, and you can get your money back. You can get your money back so that you actually buy the cheapest price thing.
Yeah, and I love that they do that because with the gift card, you can go back to Walmart and get more things.
Got it.
And who knows? Maybe you can find something else.
So you can start saving with Savings Catcher over at Walmart. Go to walmart.com/savingscatcher to enter your receipt. And and there you go. And then you can just blow your whistle.
Yay, whistles.
You can blow your whistle in front of your possible boyfriend, and they could just stare at you and go, what?
No, the trick's going to be when I pull it out of my shoe. Then
And
they're going
pull
to
it
be
out of your
like,
shoe.
what?
Okay, anyway.
This girl's impressive.
Let's move on. Very, very talented.
Thank you.
You're very talented, Roya.
I am.
So Mira pretty much has alerted her special Nazi camp friends and the Ishveni to come over to the Vom cache, and Cochise has not gotten everything out of the cache yet. They found some really interesting. I didn't write all the stuff down. Well, they only really talked about that one.
They only got one thing, I feel like.
What was that one item that that Cochise talked about that sounded? Oh, they can break through a lot of the walls, the firewalls, right? I can't remember. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, apologies for that. Well, you know what? Anyway, regardless of that, because Myra actually Is it Myra or Mira? It's Mira.
Mira.
I'm sorry, I said Myra. Because Mira did blow the whistle, the Cochise and Tom were not able to get everything out of the cache because now they're on alert. They see a beamer coming, and all of a sudden, all the Nazi kids in gas masks, apparently they knew about this whole area, at least being toxic.
Maybe when the beamer flew by, it read those readings and then...
Well, we can make up whatever we want to make up out of it.
Good.
But, I mean, Mira didn't have a mask, but everyone else does. So all of a sudden, they all start coming. They all start attacking Tom and Anne and everybody over there, and they blow up the Volm cache. So now all of these weapons that looked really, really good a little while ago...
Well, the beamer blew up the cache.
The beamer did. Yeah, the beamer blew it up, excuse me. So now all these weapons that they were hoping to get to use against the Ishveni and get the beamer and go up to the moon base, now they don't have them at all. So, you know, just like 1 minute they give it to you, and the second minute they just take it away from you. And also, they're shooting at everybody, and they end up tranquilizing Matt. So...
God, that bruise that he got on his neck, man, that looked painful.
That was a big old like tranquilizer dart. I don't know what kind of
13-year-old boy. He handled that like a man.
He did handle well. He's a little, you know, like Weaver said earlier in the episode. That Matt's a real soldier. He's going on low rations and helping out, and you know he's a strong guy. So he's definitely building himself up. But of course Matt is betrayed. You know, he feels incredibly betrayed by Mira. And all of a sudden we see team leader who has a name.
Yes.
We finally learned his name.
Kent Matthews,
Kent Matthews. So Kent Matthews is leading, because he's the team leader, he's leading the troops against Tom and Anne, and he has Tom cornered. He has Tom cornered by a, what is that, container? What do you call those?
The red shipping
container. Yeah, like those large shipping containers.
Just think of Dexter.
Yeah. And he's playing this whole, like, we want peace, kind of like what Lexi says in a way, you know, we want, this is a peaceful outcome, just surrender to us and we'll all be together and we'll all work together with the Ishveni and it's all good. Meanwhile, he's still shooting at Tom. Yeah. And Tom's shooting back, of course. And then Kent actually realizes that Tom's out of bullets. So instead of saying, okay, you're out of bullets, just come on out, no, he decides to set fire.
I love that shot. That was such an amazing shot when he kicks the canister over and there's liquid. I was like, oh, great. Yeah. And then he shoots it and the flames just blow up. Oh, that was such a great shot.
It was a good shot. Actually, it was a really, really good shot. And of course, Tom is trapped. And it just seems apparent that Kent's going to shoot him the second he comes out. So there's really no hope for Tom except for Anne, who decides to practically sacrifice herself, run out of nowhere. And scream out, yeah, as Tom says later on, says, what a plan, huh? Really good plan. You just run out and say, hey, wait. Yeah. And that's gonna save him. And it actually did save him. Yeah. He wasn't out of bullets, it turns out. He ended up
he picked up Anne's gun that was on the ground when she got shot.
Oh, thank you. He did some kind of turn thing. I just realized, yeah. Pow. And he ends up shooting Kent dead. Yes. And there goes team leader. Yeah. Slowly, and of course, team leader talks about getting his mom. Yeah, you know, turned his mom. So, which of course, very, very sad. Very sad. But of course, this whole relationship with Anne and Tom at this point in time. I mean, first they were fighting in the beginning of the episode, and now here she is sacrificing Tom, doing only what she figures Tom would have done if the roles were reversed.
Sacrificing herself for him, yeah. Yeah. So absolutely, and they realize how much they love each other. So of course, you know, they go back when they go back home, a little defeated because they don't really have the full weapons cache. They go back home and they decide to get married. So Weaver performs a ceremony. You forgot that Weaver saved Matt in the forest.
Yes, Weaver saved Matt in the forest. Because Matt was
going to get taken.
Well, Matt was going to get taken, but Matt didn't get taken. Yes.
Yeah, because Weaver shot one of the kids, and then the kids started going after him, and then Cochise went, zzz,
Yes.
You got that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm skipping. I'm glossing over that
No,
part.
it's cool. I just like the electric. Like I was like,
You just want to talk. Well, that was a funny scene. That was a funny scene because I was even like, oh wow, it's perfectly okay to shoot kids like that, I guess, right? And then there was a line saying, oh, this weapon just stunned them for a little while, and I think they did that on purpose. It was like Steven Spielberg saying, you can't just shoot kids.
Yeah, it's not okay.
Notice that none of the kids got shot except for Kent, and Kent is like 19 years old, or at least he looks like he's 19 or 20.
And he
looks,
deserves to be shot.
and he kind of, well, he was,
continue that sentence.
I don't want to say he deserved to be shot, but he was clearly the leader, the I guess the villain for the episode. Him and Mira, but you're not going to shoot Mira either. So, and I'm guessing the rest of the kids, they got stunned or...
Well, Mira ran into the forest.
Well, Mira ran away, but I guess those kids that were stunned, I guess they just left them there. I don't know if they, what are you going to do? You can't really put them in jail or anything. So.
Yeah, they don't have anywhere to take them.
So I think they just escaped and
away.
let them. So maybe we'll see Mira again. I'm sure we might, since Ben seems to have an attraction toward her, and there was a little talk between Tom and Matt about Mira afterwards. So, but again, like I said, the name of this episode, "Till Death Do Us Part." So really interesting already to see Matt's love interest come in this episode, return in this episode, and to see all of this going on between Tom and Anne. This was definitely for them, they haven't had much time to explore the relationship. They've been separated through most of this season, and then they were dealing with Lexi. So this is the first episode we've really, I think, gotten to see them talking a lot and relating to each other, agreeing or disagreeing, and in the end, having these feelings for each other and realizing we finally get to get married. So really touching. And of course, they bring the whistle back that Mira had. No, can't forget that. And they give that over to Shaq. And Shaq, in typical, like, I'm not really as nice as Cochise. I'm kind of blunt. Just interrupts the whole ceremony in the middle of the ceremony to announce that he figured something out with the whistle. And once they realize, once they pay attention to him, he shows that even though he doesn't have the signal that can send the beamer to the moon, he can do enough with the whistle that he can actually wake the beamer up and bring the beamer up past the rubble that they've been struggling with the whole time, this whole episode.
I got a question for you about that scene when Shaq looks over and he sees the wedding. You kind of see this friendly face on him. Do you think that was him actually understanding the human race a little bit more than he used to? Kind of like it's weird that with all this chaos going on, there is still love and they can still come together.
It's possible. I mean, to be honest, and well, you know this. I mean, sometimes I even get confused in the show. Like if I'm not paying attention, they don't say Shaq. Do this. I'm like thinking it's Cochise automatically. Yeah. So I mean, Shaq has in some ways become a little softer.
Especially when you hear him chuckle at the end when Tom goes, "What does this got to do for us?" He goes, ha, ha, ha.
Well,
he didn't laugh that hard.
I think his laugh was kind of like the IT guy who's like, when he fixes your computer, you're like, you mean all I have to do is shut it off and it reset? It's like, you're an idiot. And it's kind of like that kind of a laugh. But that's the way I looked at it. But I can definitely see Shaq having a little bit of an arc where he kind of gets a little bit more sentimental toward the humans. He starts to understand their side more, get a little softer. I mean, Cochise is really the guy who is always there for Tom. So Shaq's learning more and more. And I think Shaq's realizing how resilient the humans are, too.
Yeah. And I just realized that in this episode is the first time we actually see the real whistle. Because Matt never graduated. They always had the plastic red ones. You remember that?
Yeah, that's right. Because they were using those as practice.
So.
Absolutely, they were using it as practice. So anyway, so that's pretty much the main storyline. So it looks like they have the beamer out, and we'll see next week if they end up, I'm guessing they'll get to the moon with the beamer. But let's go over a couple of other relationships, a couple other things that went on, because there was definitely a lot of stuff that was going on back at the home base while Tom and Anne and Weaver were searching at this Vulm cache.
Does the beamer not have people in it to control it, or was
only in Beverly Hills?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I could not.
No,
It was a good joke. Only in Beverly Hills do they have people in there that actually control it. They're called chauffeurs. No, they don't have. I think it's just. Well, you know what? We saw a little bit when Shaq and Dingon were working on that ship. That it kind of like they said it mimics.
So it's literally controlled by the moon. The control people.
It is, but they were talking about those
wiring.
Those wirings, and don't forget, even last week when Tom stuck his hand in there, it seemed like it almost seems like it's a living organism in a way, that the ship is geared kind of similar to a living organism. So in a way, you're kind of right, but ultimately it seems to, maybe it is a living organism, but just like the humans can be harnessed and just like the skitters can be harnessed, maybe whatever this organic life form is, maybe perhaps it's also harnessed to respond to commands, to respond to electronics. So we'll see that. But let's talk a little bit. About some of the other characters in this episode, because again, we definitely got to see a couple of other relationships in this episode for Till Death Do Us Part, and see the good and the bad of it. Let's start off actually with what I think everyone wants to know more about Maggie. Maggie, now that she's kind of like half spiked, half not spiked, whatever it is, she shares her spikes with Ben. Very interesting to see her start to figure out her powers. And, she doesn't want to sit still. She can't sit still. Everything's hurting her right now, so she wants to do something. So she's offering to help out with the rubble. And I guess she doesn't realize right away how strong she is, because we see her start to get ready to pull something really, really heavy out of the debris, and she ends up flinging it like some, like one of those Gatorade commercials where the guy's like throwing a football like past the length of a football field.
Her whole sequence of learning her powers and everything, it reminded me of Superman trying to learn his powers, Clark Kent learning his powers in a way, like if someone were to teach him. It just reminded me of that.
Interesting. I could see that. I could totally see that.
So when he pulls him, oops, so I gotta control that.
No, absolutely. You could definitely see that. And of course, when Maggie does that, she throws this big piece of debris, this heavy piece of debris, and it ends up hitting Sarah and hurting her wrist.
It didn't hit her, it just made her fall, and then she hurt her own wrist.
She hurt her own wrist, but...
Big baby.
Well, that was the catalyst for her hurting her wrist. But yes, big baby, she has to go to the infirmary. But meanwhile, Maggie is still trying to figure all of this out, and she seems to have all this energy. And again, she doesn't really, she doesn't really know what to make of these powers. And luckily, Ben is around.
Yeah.
And Hal's like, oh, Ben, help her out. Help her try and figure this out. Not realizing that Ben had like this really weird, freaky dream about Maggie a couple of weeks ago, and he has these feelings for her. And even though he's there as a friend, he's still, thinking other thoughts, perhaps.
I wonder if Hal would have changed his mind if he knew that Ben was making out with Karen when Karen was held hostage, even though she was controlled and harnessed. I wonder if his perspective would have been a little bit different if he knew that there was kind of feelings between harnessed kids.
Well, perhaps, but considering they were all harnessed and Karen wasn't not in her own
but she was
mind.
claiming she was. So
yeah, but she wasn't. Well, you know what? They broke up, and she tried to kill his whole family. So I think Tom really, in the end of the day, I think Tom has other issues to worry about. Or has other issues with Karen than, oh my God, you kissed my brother.
You mean Hal?
Did I say
Tom?
I meant Hal. Hal has other issues with Karen other than that. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So... Anyway, Ben starts showing, I love this, Ben starts showing, in a way it was kind of like Superman, like that jump that they did. It wasn't really a jump, it was like a jump down.
Right.
But a very long distance that she jumped down. I think anybody else jumps down that far and they're going to break a leg. They just jumped down. It kind of reminded me of Portal. The video game, because you can like jump long distances or you can keep falling and you always land okay.
Well, his line of do you trust me? That's what I was waiting for him to say. Even though he says, trust me,
yeah.
It reminded me of Aladdin. Like, let's go on a carpet ride together.
That's kind of like a Superman or a Spider-Man line when he's got his girlfriend, he's got Mary Jane, or when Superman has Lois Lane, and he's like, just trust me. And they start going for this jump. But so it was very...
Between those relationships, there's always love between the two. So the trust me line was a loaded question.
There's love with Ben. And we don't know for sure what's going on with Maggie at this point. We see that she definitely has a friendship with Ben that she trusts. And we've seen her fighting with Hal. But I think part of what makes this relationship interesting is seeing the possibility of her relating to Ben more than Hal. And now that she shares spikes with Ben, even more so, as we get to see, because when Ben starts to share some information, he starts to feel sad. We see the harness, we see the spikes, actually, not the harness. We see the spikes start lighting up from both of them, which is very, very interesting. So we see that, and Maggie says she feels his sadness. So they definitely share. It's almost like they share a mind in a way through the alien DNA.
But we already knew that from the relationship with Ben and Karen. We knew that.
We knew that.
But there's a connection.
Well, we knew that, but at the same time, I mean, considering the way that this is the spikes that come from one person in particular, I think who knows? Maybe it's stronger. It's definitely something worth noting, even if we recognized that from before. I mean, there are a lot of similarities, as if she got harnessed.
Yeah.
There are a lot of similarities. Absolutely. I agree with that. So anyway, I love that she, in fact, I love after they do their little jump, their little excursion, and they jump, she says, I'm going to need to jump a lot more often. I'm going to need to jump a lot. And Ben's like, well, we can jump together. And I just felt like there was some kind of little innuendo in that whole line. It was kind of cracked me up. Well, we can jump together.
Even when he goes, you feel love.
Yeah.
And much more excitement, ecstatic.
He's definitely playing. He's definitely playing with those lines and throwing little hints.
Like I like you a lot.
Yeah. Oh, he's absolutely throwing little hints out there.
Yeah.
So
read my mind.
I know. And then they have that little nighttime. Nighttime like weapons lesson.
It was like Tomb Raider. Like talk about video games. This is literally you playing a video game with auto aim, and you're just hitting every target. Well,
this is what I have to admit. This is what I love about Maggie right now, because Maggie is a badass. And if she was a badass before she got these powers, now she has these powers, and once she embraces them, and according to them, you know, the alien DNA is starting to accept her body. It's starting to accept her, so she feels more comfortable with it now. But now that she accepts this for what it is, she can be so much more badass with her guns. We saw, like, she was just shooting that can. It just stayed up in the air. She wasn't even looking at things as she was shooting them. She can run faster. She can jump higher. She's like a Jedi with guns. She's like she's like Luke Skywalker, or let's say like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Han Solo, you know, mixed together. You know, she's got the super strength, not the force powers, but she's got the super strength. But but Jedis don't use guns, so she's got like the skills of like let's say Han Solo. But again, I'm really psyched to see what Maggie can do with these powers in the future.
You mean the powers that she's bad?
Well, that's I think that's more Ben's power. I think what happens, I think since they kind of share emotions together, when Ben gets horny, she feels it. So Ben got really turned. Well, Ben got really turned on from seeing Maggie doing all that. And I have to admit, I kind of got turned on from Maggie doing all that too. I mean, it's Sarah Carter. What can you expect? So, but I don't have spikes that I share with her. So Ben does.
Right? When she goes, I can feel your sadness. I'm like, honey, you're going to feel a lot more than that in a minute. So careful. Keep your distance if I were you.
But pretty much, yeah. I mean, he says, I can't remember the exact line, but it was a really awesome line. I lost it, but I did have that line somewhere.
Was it with him and Hal, or was it?
No, with him before Hal spotted them kissing. Before they kissed, actually, Ben said something. And I can't remember what it is, and I thought I wrote it down in my notes somewhere, but I can't find it. But anyway, and then all of a sudden she makes this big move toward Ben, like this really super aggressive kiss.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. There was
but a line. I can't remember if there was a line, but Matt said a line like how
hot it was.
Like how hot it was.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like that was hot. Yeah. And all of a sudden the spikes light up, and next thing you know, she's making a beeline for him, and she's totally making out with him, and next thing, and you even said it before it happened, you're like, Hal's here. Hal's watching. Hal's somewhere nearby.
Yep.
And of course, we see the shot of Hal seeing the kiss. And then, of course, Hal storms off, which means it's very cliche in a way. So Hal storms off, and then Maggie's like, I can't do this. I love Hal. I can't kiss you. even though I'm incredibly drawn to you, whether it's my own emotions or it's the spikes telling me that. But she doesn't say that much. I'm just adding that.
No, that's true though, because Ben's like, wait, you didn't feel this way before?
Yeah.
No, not at all. Oh, and that's what made Ben feel butthurt about the whole situation.
And of course, Ben felt butthurt, and when she said she was really drawn, she really was drawn to him and was about to kiss him again, Ben did the honorable thing and said, no, don't. Because it's not you talking, it's the spikes, apparently. Right. So he actually, give Ben a little bit of kudos. He could have totally just kept going, come on, Spikes, keep working. Come on, Spikes. Come on, Spikes. I'm going to get lucky tonight. But no, the spikes are lighting up. The spikes are lighting up, and he's like, yeah, I don't think you want to see that. The spikes
powerful.
Oh, my God. Okay, Roya. The spikes are lighting up, and Ben's like, nope. He's like pretty much like thinking baseball or something, He's like, I'm going to think baseball. Baseball, I'm not attracted to this girl. I'm not attracted. You can't kiss me.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm not going to go there with it.
Don't go there with it. I already know what you're going to say. Don't go there with it. But of course, Hal doesn't see this whole thing. So Hal ends up asking Ben a little bit later on, like, you heal super fast now, right? And Ben's like, sure. And then he gives him a good cold cock.
Yeah.
Right across the face. And that actually is a word. I just want to say that is a real word.
You said it very well. I wasn't going to question it.
Okay,
So
cool. I just want to make sure people know that. This is a PG. This is a PG show.
Baseball. I'm thinking about baseball right now.
Thinking about baseball. So anyway, so pretty much Hal tells Ben, keep away from my woman. Which, you know what? Look, I love the fact that Ben and Hal are having this conversation, and that Hal is fighting for his girlfriend. That Maggie, now that she's confronted with Ben, with this knowledge that Ben was attracted to her, and having this shared alien inside her that she shares with Ben. I like the fact that now they've dedicated themselves, that Hal and Maggie are like, no, I love Hal, or I love Maggie. So they're going to hopefully make it work out. And Ben, unfortunately, Ben just kind of on the side, like Charlie Brown.
But what I really liked about that, I agree with you 100%. I also like the fact that they're bringing in the brother relationship again. Yeah. They're bringing their conflict. If you had I don't know, do you have a brother?
I do. Okay,
if you two were trying to hit on the same girl, it'd be a little brother conflict, and I like that real life situation. Yeah. Like, there's aliens attack, but hey, you're my brother, don't touch my girl. And then I loved Ben's line, I'm sorry, I didn't see your leash on her.
Yeah, that was a pretty big line, I think, too. And it kind of shows, I think when Ben said that, it kind of shows, well, it says two things. It's Ben saying Maggie's her own person. She's not your property.
Which as a woman, I like that Ben stood up for her in that sense, because I'm sure Maggie would have punched him, Hal, right in the face too.
And to me, it also says this triangle is not over, not by a long shot. That there still is, in a way, even though Hal is fighting for Maggie in that moment, the fact that Hal's kind of like almost, I don't think he specifically says it, but he's kind of referring as her property. Yeah. Yeah, that there's that over there. So anyway, I believe we're running a little bit close to time. So let me just talk really quickly about the one other relationship. It's going to be really quick. Yeah. Pope and Sarah. So, which is very interesting. I think the only thing we really need to know, well, first of all, it seems interesting. Pope all of a sudden really cares about Sarah. Pope, who's such a criminal. He cared for her last week, but actually cared about her being an addict, and he seemed to be like, I don't want to be around an addict. It seemed to really trigger something from him in his personal life.
Yeah, like he's experienced it before. Yeah, that someone's used him that was an addict,
which is very un-Pope-like. Right. In my opinion.
I at first I was like, I don't care about Pope and Sarah's relationship. In this episode, I just thought there was too much going on, that whatever minor detail, I'm going to be going back on drugs, was not very important to the storyline. Yeah. But then when Pope confronted her, I thought that brought me back into their relationship, because he goes, I don't want to get hurt again, basically. And she goes, well, you should have looked. It's just Advil. Well,
I love that line. The line before she says the Advil, I circled that one, is you're afraid of what we might be. And then she said, she said that the Vicodin that was labeled on the bottle that she had was actually aspirin, and you actually have to look to see what's inside, which of course was also a message about looking inside her and not just labeling her as an addict without knowing the real story or really going deep inside to try and figure her out. Right. So Sarah pretty much ends up leaving, says a little story, ends up leaving town. So I'm sure Pope's going to most likely, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that yet. Let's save it for predictions because we're about that point right now where we're going to talk about predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
Okay, and hopefully I didn't leave anything out. I think we covered just about everything in detail. But anyway, so Roya, what do you think as far as anything at all, not just about Pope and Sarah? Because I think it's pretty obvious Pope's going to go after Sarah for the season for one of the 2 season finales that we're seeing next week. But what else do you think is going to happen?
I honestly don't want this to happen, but I feel something really bad is going to happen to Hal. It's going to be at a point where either Hal or Ben, one of them's got to go because they're in a love triangle with Maggie. Someone is got to take care of Maggie when one of them's got to go. Okay. So either one gets abducted or killed or whatever it is. There's something where they're both not going to be able to be there together in the final season.
Okay.
But I also think Lexi's going to obviously come back into next week. She's going to either be on, I don't know, I have like 2 different things. She's either going to be on the moon training. Yeah. Or while everyone is going up to the moon, she's going to be down on Earth and she's going to run into Pope and Sarah. And then that's when Pope's relationship for standing up for her will be tested for Sarah. Okay. Is there anybody else that's...
Well, let me ask you this, because it is a season finale next week. I mean, it's 2 episodes. But it is a season finale. So do you think we saw a couple of deaths 2 weeks ago in Qatar and Lourdes? Do you think that everyone is safe, or do you think there'll be another death?
There's going to be at least 2 more deaths.
You think there'll be 2 more deaths?
Yes.
Who do you think?
I don't want it to be Hal. I'm thinking it might be Hal.
Really? Drew Roy not working next year.
No,
is that what you're saying?
No. He'll come back in memories or something. I don't know.
And Cochise.
Yeah, there's some...
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know.
I kind of like the idea.
Someone's gonna die because of the red shirt thing.
Well, you know what? I'll say this. I'll say, well, Pope's going after Sarah. We know that. Something, Sarah will probably be in danger in some kind of way. Pope will save her. But I think Sarah's probably... I just feel like, and I hate to say this just because it's Mira Sorvino. She's an amazing actress, and I love her work, but I just don't think she's a series regular, so I don't think she's going to be around much longer. I haven't really looked to see or read news on it, but I could see her possibly dying.
So Pope's going to get another heartbreak?
Pope's going to get a heartbreak, but I hope that this will probably change Pope's direction a little bit, and maybe Pope, because we talk about how Pope's kind of likable, but not 100% like. He's kind of Han Solo. He's not that likable. He's not that likable. But I also see someone else dying. Maybe Cochise actually. It would be interesting. But I think Cochise. Right? But I think Cochise is not as expendable as Shaq, and Shaq is kind of getting a little softer.
One of them, right?
So I think Shaq would go out of the 2. So I definitely agree with that. Anyway, so Roya, where can we find you usually during the week?
Well, guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HeyRoya. That's HeyRoya. And I'm also on the Outlander podcast, so check that out.
Awesome.
Nando, where can we find you?
You can also find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Nandovel, Nandovel. You can also find me here at AfterBuzz for Defiance this summer. And then, of course, with fall coming, we'll be doing a bunch of new shows. I'll be on a couple of them. Just a few. But they're like 50 AfterBuzz shows that are playing during a week. So, and by the way, I haven't brought this up, but please go on iTunes and rate us and write to us, and on YouTube as well. We'd love to read your comments. We'd love to find out, and rating the show also helps us out and helps us get guests, or helps us in many ways. So till next week for the season finale, where you may or may not see me, on behalf of myself and Phil's VTech, who you can reach on AfterBuzz TV on Twitter, and Roya, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.